Right. Thank you, first of all, to the members of the media here present as we deliver our press statement on the eve of the 46th independence commemorations of our country. But before we begin, firstly, CDF would like to commence by extending our heartfelt condolences to the families and loved ones of the victims of the tragic road accident that occurred on Thursday afternoon along the Bulawayo Bridge Road and that claimed the lives of 16 Zimbabwean souls. Our thoughts and prayers are with them all. So it is disheartening that on the eve of the country's 46th independence commemorations, we are presently faced with a dire constitutional crisis that will really have severe implications not just for our democratic architecture, but also threatens the collective futures of the children we're raising today. So we are seeing, number one, increased constriction of civic space as the state increasingly turns against its own citizens. We have seen disturbingly an increased clampdown on student activism, with the arrest of Emmanuel Sitima and Takunda Muka as notable recent examples. And we need to bear in mind that they are far from being criminals or a menace to society. They are young men who are products of their immediate environment, victims of circumstances they did not even create. Their activism is less an act of malice than a direct reflection of unmet basic needs. We are also witnessing, secondly, an increasingly untenable economic outlook, with the lived experiences of Zimbabweans today painting a dire picture by the day. Sizodlani namhla ntambama, tichadye nasi manero, ndichaenda sei kubasa, ndizohamba njani emsebenzini. I want ordinary Zimbabweans to ask themselves how many times have they asked themselves this question just this week alone. The cost of basic living has reached unsustainable proportions, with fuel prices in Zimbabwe remaining significantly higher than the rest of the region. We have been told to park our cars, to cut back on unnecessary travel, to rationalize fuel consumption. We have been told that this is a result of international developments outside the country's control, while neighboring countries who are also affected by the very same global developments are actually paying less than half or close to less than half of what we are now having to pay in order to commute. We've got Zambia paying at least $1.42 for petrol and $1.56 for diesel. We've got Namibia paying just around $1.20 for petrol, while Zimbabweans fork out nearly double these amounts to commute. It is against this backdrop and this comparative context that the recent directive by the Finance Minister, Ntuli Ncube, is not only detached from reality, but actually remains deeply insensitive. For many citizens, mobility is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's tied to survival, it's tied to livelihoods, it's tied to access to essential services that cannot be downplayed by apathetic pronouncements. Thirdly, on the eve of independence, we are witnessing the erosion of judicial independence, which is buttressed by weaponization of state machinery. As CDF, we tendered our notice on the 8th of April in terms of Section 1 of the Maintenance of Peace and Order Act, notifying the Zimbabwe Republic Police of our intention to hold a public meeting at Glenora B Community Hall to discuss the Constitution Amendment Bill number 3. On the 14th of April, we received a letter dated 11 April notifying that we could not go ahead with our public meeting due to unspecified security reasons currently prevailing. This stifling of dialogue and citizen participation is uncharacteristic of a government that claims to enjoy overwhelming support from the majority of its citizens. A government confident in its legitimacy does not fear the voice of its own citizens. As we speak, Mazibabawe Shanduko continues to languish in remand prison for over 6 months following his arrest in October 2025, a clear manifestation of a trial by pre-trial incarceration. He is already effectively serving a prison sentence despite not yet being convicted. In closing, as CDF, we are moved to ask, 46 years from independence, are we any closer to the Zimbabwe we really want? 46 years from independence, we continue to see the weaponization of poverty. We continue to see the harvesting and institutionalization of fear. We continue to witness the erosion of political plurality, where only one party and one party alone regards itself as having the legitimate right to govern. The architects and main beneficiaries of our misery are now saying to us today, give us 2 more additional years of the constitutionally stipulated 5-year terms through Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3. They say it's about development. They say it's about having sufficient time in order to complete projects. We say in reality, it's about reducing Zimbabweans to mere spectators in the destiny of their own nation. It is against this backdrop that we as CDF reject Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 in its entirety and call for its complete withdrawal, and would like to also call upon all Zimbabweans to mobilize in defense of the Constitution, regardless of political affiliation. Thank you. We will take any questions, if there are any, at the stage and point in time.
Besides the public meetings, what other activities have you planned to educate people about the bill number 3?
All right, thank you for that. So we really have been trying our best to leverage on technology in terms of, having digitalized flyers, simplified fact sheets on what the proposed amendments really imply, or their impact, for ordinary citizens. We have been, disseminating those. We've translated them into English and Ndebele, Shona, to try and reach, the broader citizenry and really conscientize them on the impact of this draconian bill. Other than that, we note that on the 18th of April 2026, we've got Zimbabweans in the diaspora who are planning to protest by going to Zimbabwe House and just voice their general disgruntlement, against this CAP 3. And these are just but one of the many avenues that we are really trying to take. You have seen us also approaching the courts, despite the fact that we continue to get unfavorable outcomes, but we're really willing to exhaust any and all available remedies in pushing back against this bill.
And maybe in your view, since most of your activities are being denied by the police, isn't this pointing out to the bill sailing through without any assistance from citizens? Are you not seeing that it's heading towards being passed without any resistance from citizens? What are you going to do if the police continue to deny you the chance to hold public meetings?
Well, as we have said, we have already outlined the number of initiatives, that are advocacy initiatives basically. Other than that, we also will be engaging different stakeholders. We are planning on taking our advocacy regional and international, so we are not really confined to just what is happening locally. We will be approaching regional partners. We will also be approaching international partners around this. But we really do not foresee a situation whereby we just sit by and do nothing and allow this bill to pass without us having voiced our very strong dissent to this bill. For us, I think our convener has made the position very clear. We stand by the Constitution. We will die for this Constitution, and really it is unfathomable that this bill will sail through without receiving any opposing or dissenting voices from the Zimbabweans. We saw recently the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission made a statement, just basically decrying the procedural irregularities that occurred during the public hearings that were conducted in terms of Section 141 of the Constitution. So it is not just us who are seeing, the world is watching as well.
And maybe ZANU-PF is saying that the Zimbabweans are in support of this bill, that the majority of Zimbabweans are in support of this bill. Do you agree? And if not, are you able to prove that there's a good number of people who are against this bill?
So the good thing about this digital age that we live in is that things get documented in real time. This is why I say the world is watching. We saw the UK House of Lords. They made submissions recently where they actually spoke about their concerns regarding this Constitutional Amendment number 3. We did not even make any submissions to them. We did not make any plea to them to make those submissions on our behalf, but they are aware of the contextual underpinnings that are currently that we're currently seized with today. So in terms of us proving it, the proof is already there. We saw Dark Holtard being assaulted. We saw what happened at Ngeta Hall. All of these things were documented in real time. as they were occurring in that very moment. We saw our own convener having to be escorted under, heavy security guard, as well as other, opposition figures that were there. So really, history will speak for us eventually. History will speak for us, and it will also speak for those who have been silent and those who are in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
No more.